Episode 1, Part 1. The Child Born to Rule. They say history is written by the victors, but Cleopatra's story was written by her enemies. Before Rome painted her as a seductress, before poets turned her into a fantasy, before centuries reduced her to beauty alone, she was a child born into a dynasty where love was rare, mercy was weakness, and blood was the price of power. This is not the story of how Cleopatra ruled. This is the story of how she survived long enough to rule. 1. A world on the edge of collapse. Alexandria, 7 BC. The Mediterranean wind carries the smell of salt, ink, incense, and unrest. Alexandria is still magnificent. Marble streets, towering columns, ships from every known land. But beneath its beauty, the city trembles. Egypt is no longer the master of its own fate. Rome is rising, and Egypt is drowning in debt. The pharaohs are no longer gods. They are borrowers. And Rome never forgets a debt. 2. The dynasty built on blood. The Ptolemaic dynasty rules Egypt, but they are not Egyptian. They are Macedonian Greeks, descendants of Ptolemy I of Sota, general of Alexander the Great. For nearly 3 centuries, they have ruled through one principle. Power must stay within the bloodline, no matter the cost. So brothers marry sisters, uncles kill nephews, mothers poison sons. This is not scandal. It is policy. Cleopatra is born into a family where death is inheritance. 3. The king they mocked. Her father is Ptolemy III Auletes, a king without respect, a ruler without authority. The people call him Auletes, the flute player, a cruel joke implying he belongs on the streets, not the throne. He raises taxes to please Rome. He executes rivals to keep control. And still, Rome demands more. Cleopatra grows up watching her father flinch at Roman messengers. She learns early. Even kings can be afraid. The birth of a daughter no one trusts. Cleopatra VII Philopatra is born in 69 BCE. No celebration shakes the palace. She is not a long-awaited son. She is not a solution. She is a potential threat. Her mother's identity is uncertain. Possibly Cleopatra V. Possibly another woman erased from history. That uncertainty alone is dangerous. In the Ptolemaic court, unclear bloodlines mean execution. Cleopatra survives infancy not because she is loved, but because she is overlooked. 5. A child of silence and observation. Cleopatra does not grow up sheltered. She grows up watching. She watches servants disappear. She watches advisors bow, then betray. She watches siblings whispered about, then erased. She learns when to speak. More importantly, she learns when not to. Her childhood is not marked by toys. It is marked by listening. Fuck the shadow of Rome. Roman influence is everywhere. Roman soldiers train Egyptian troops. Roman officials audit Egyptian taxes. Roman debts strangle the kingdom. Cleopatra hears one name repeated constantly. Rome, not as a city, but as a threat. 7. Education as a weapon. Unlike her siblings, Cleopatra is hungry, not for pleasure, but for knowledge. She demands tutors. She demands scrolls. She demands access to the library's scholars. She studies philosophy to understand men, rhetoric to control rooms, history to avoid past mistakes, medicine to recognize poison, and languages. Greek is expected. Latin is strategic. But Egyptian, that is revolutionary. Cleopatra becomes the first Ptolemaic ruler to speak Egyptian fluently. She wants her people to hear her voice without translation. This terrifies the court. 8. A girl too aware. By her early teens, Cleopatra understands something most adults don't. Egypt's greatest enemy is not Rome. It is weak leadership. She watches her father panic, flee, beg, and borrow. She silently vows never to do the same. 9. Revolt in the streets. The people rise. Taxes are unbearable. Grain is scarce. Temples burn. Ptolemy Thummim does the unthinkable. He runs. He abandons Egypt. Cleopatra watches her father flee his own kingdom. This moment brands itself into her soul. A ruler who abandons their people is already dead. 10. The price of return. Rome restores Ptolemy XIII, but at a cost. Egypt is now a client state. Cleopatra understands what this means. Egypt is free in name only, and one day, Rome will choose her fate too. 11. The heir no one expected. Cleopatra grows quickly, not in age, but in awareness. By her mid-teens, she understands court politics better than most men twice her age. She notices patterns. Which advisors survive long reigns? Which generals are loyal only to gold? Which priests bend toward whoever holds power? She also notices something unsettling. Her older sisters are gone. One disappears from public record. Another is quietly executed. No mourning, no explanations. Cleopatra learns an unspoken rule of the palace. The closer you are to the throne, the closer you are to death. 12. A king living on borrowed time. Ptolemy the Athene returns to Egypt with Roman soldiers at his back. He is king again, but no longer sovereign. Rome decides who lives. Rome decides who rules. The king grows paranoid. Executions increase. Trust evaporates. Cleopatra watches her father age rapidly. Not from years, but from fear. She learns something crucial. Rome does not rule with swords alone. It rules with dependence. 13. A daughter in the council chamber. Unusual for a girl. Unacceptable for a woman. Cleopatra begins attending royal councils. At first, she is silent. Then she starts asking questions. Smart questions. Dangerous questions. Questions that expose corruption, weak alliances, and Roman manipulation. Advisors exchange nervous glances. This girl is not supposed to think. She is supposed to obey. 14. The education that scares men. Cleopatra's tutors realize something terrifying. She remembers everything. She debates philosophy like a scholar. She quotes law like a magistrate. She understands economics better than treasury officials. She is not learning to decorate a throne. She is learning to command it. Word spreads quietly through the palace. She will not be controlled. 15. The daughter who speaks to the people. Cleopatra begins appearing publicly. Not in silence. She speaks. In Egyptian. The people are stunned. For the first time in centuries, a ruler speaks their language. Not Greek. She invokes Isis. She invokes tradition. She invokes dignity. The people listen. The court panics. 16. A dynasty built on incredible fear. The Ptolemies survive not because they are loved, but because they are feared. Cleopatra understands this, but she also understands something else. Fear alone is unstable, and instability gets you killed. She begins shaping a different image. Educated, divine, accessible, powerful. Not a girl. A queen in preparation. 17. The will that sealed her fate. Ptolemy the Athene grows ill. Poison is suspected. Age is blamed. Fear is undeniable. He summons scribes. His will is written under Roman supervision. It names Cleopatra as co-ruler. But Rome insists on one thing. She must rule with a male, her younger brother. A child, her husband. 18. The marriage that was never a choice. Cleopatra is 18 years old. Her brother, Ptolemy the Athene, is 10. They are married according to dynasty law. This is not romance. This is containment. Rome believes a child king will weaken Cleopatra's influence. They are wrong. 19. A queen in name and in action. From the beginning, Cleopatra rules. Her name appears first on documents. She signs decrees alone. She meets foreign envoys herself. She removes advisors loyal to Rome. She restores temples. She stabilizes grain supply. Egypt begins to breathe again, and that terrifies Rome's allies. 20. The men behind the boy king. Ptolemy the Athene is young, but he is not alone. Behind him stand Pothinus the eunuch, Achillas the general, Theodotus the manipulator. They whisper poison into the boy's ears. They tell him, "Your sister is stealing your crown. She will kill you. Rule now or die." They do not hate Cleopatra. They fear her. 21. The first strike against her. Cleopatra is slowly erased. Her name disappears from official documents. Coins stop carrying her image. Orders are issued without her consent. Then comes the accusation. Treason. Against her own brother. Against Rome. Against Egypt. 22. Betrayal from within the palace. Cleopatra is surrounded by enemies. Servants spy. Guards shift loyalty. Messages disappear. She realizes something too late. The palace has already chosen a side, and it is not hers. 26. Rome arrives in chains and armor. While Cleopatra hides beyond the borders of Alexandria, Egypt itself becomes a battlefield of Roman ambition. Rome is tearing itself apart. Two men, once allies, now enemies. Julius Caesar, Pompey the Great. Civil war consumes the Roman Republic. When Pompey loses, he does what desperate men have always done. He runs to Egypt. 27. a mistake that shook the world. Pompey believes Egypt will protect him. Instead, advisors of young Ptolemy XIII see opportunity. They murder Pompey the moment he lands. His head is severed, preserved, and presented as a gift. When Julius Caesar arrives in Alexandria, he is shown the severed head of his former ally. He is not pleased. Egypt has just committed a fatal political error. Jan 28. Caesar in a city of enemies. Julius Caesar enters Alexandria not as a conqueror, but as a judge. He demands repayment of Egypt's debt, stability in the kingdom, enforcement of the late king's will. That will includes Cleopatra as co-ruler. Suddenly, the queen in exile becomes relevant again, dangerously relevant. 29. Cleopatra hears the news. News reaches Cleopatra quickly. Caesar is in Alexandria. Rome is involved, and for the first time since her exile, the balance of power shifts. She understands immediately. This is not a rescue. This is an opportunity. But it will cost everything if she fails. 30. A plan only desperation could create. Cleopatra cannot enter Alexandria openly. Her brother controls the palace. Roman soldiers guard the city. Anyone associated with her is searched. So she chooses audacity over safety. She chooses theater over force. She chooses legend. Shratham's journey back into the city. Under cover of night, Cleopatra returns to Alexandria. Not as a queen, not as a ruler, but as cargo. Wrapped tightly in linen, some say a carpet, others a sack, she is smuggled into the palace, carried past guards, past Roman soldiers, past men who would kill her on sight. Every step could be her last. 32. The moment history holds its breath. The package is delivered to Julius Caesar's chambers, unwrapped, and from the cloth emerges Cleopatra, not pleading, not crying, but standing tall. She speaks first, not as a beggar, but as a ruler wronged. 33. Cleopatra and Caesar. The first conversation. She does not seduce him. She confronts him. She speaks of her legal right to the throne, her brother's manipulation, Rome's responsibility. She speaks intelligently, strategically, calmly. Caesar is stunned. This is not what Rome taught him to expect. 33. Cleopatra and Caesar. The first conversation. She does not seduce him. She confronts him. She speaks of her legal right to the throne, her brother's manipulation, Rome's responsibility. She speaks intelligently, strategically, calmly. Caesar is stunned. This is not what Rome taught him to expect. 34. Why Caesar listens. Cleopatra does something no one else does. She treats Caesar not as a god, but as a man who wants order. She offers him stability in Egypt, loyalty to Rome, payment of debts, and something more subtle, a partner who understands power. 35. The decision that ignites a war. Caesar decides to support Cleopatra, not because of beauty, but because of competence. This enrages Ptolemy III and his advisors. They surround the palace. They cut off supplies. Alexandria descends into chaos. 36. The Alexandrian War begins. Street fighting erupts. The palace is besieged. Fire spreads. Parts of the city burn. Even the legendary Library of Alexandria may be damaged. Cleopatra is trapped inside with Caesar, but she does not panic. She advises. She negotiates. She calculates. 37. A queen under siege. While soldiers fight, Cleopatra plans. She studies troop movements. She advises Caesar on Egyptian politics. She sends secret messages to loyalists. She is no longer a child of observation. She is a commander. 38. The fall of a brother. Reinforcements arrive for Caesar. Ptolemy XIII flees during battle, trying to escape across the Nile. He drowns. His crown sinks with him. Cleopatra does not celebrate. She understands the cost of survival. 39. The return of the queen. Cleopatra is restored to the throne. She is crowned again. Egypt breathes. Rome watches closely, and Cleopatra learns her most dangerous lesson yet. Power taken must be defended constantly. 40. The end of childhood. Cleopatra is no longer a girl shaped by fear. She is a queen forged by exile, war, and strategy. But this victory comes with consequences. Rome never forgets, and Caesar's presence in her life will change everything. 41. A queen restored but not free. Cleopatra returns to the throne of Egypt. The crown rests on her head once more. The palace doors open to her again. The people cheer, but this is not the same throne she lost. Roman soldiers line the streets. Roman banners flutter beside Egyptian symbols. Roman eyes watch every decision she makes. Cleopatra understands immediately. She has won her crown, but Egypt has not won its freedom. 42. A marriage that means nothing. Rome insists on tradition. Cleopatra is forced to rule alongside another brother, Ptolemy XIII, even younger than the last. This marriage is ceremonial. Power does not sit with the boy. It sits with Cleopatra, and Rome knows it. 43. Cleopatra and Caesar. A dangerous alliance. Julius Caesar remains in Egypt, officially to restore order, unofficially because Cleopatra fascinates him. They talk for hours, not about romance, about governance, economics, religion, power. Cleopatra understands Caesar's greatest weakness. He believes stability justifies control, and Caesar understands hers. She will never accept being ruled. They are allies, not equals. Yet, 44. The night that changes history. In the quiet of the palace, a child is conceived. Not in scandal, in calculation. Cleopatra understands the risk. A child tied to Rome is leverage. A child tied to Caesar is protection, but it is also danger. Because Rome does not tolerate queens who create dynasties of their own. 45. The birth of Caesarion. The child is born. A boy. Cleopatra names him Ptolemy 15 Philopator Philometer Caesar. History will call him Caesarion, Little Caesar. Cleopatra presents him not as a Roman prince, but as the son of a goddess. She associates herself with Isis. She presents the child as divine. This is not mythology. This is politics. 46. A queen walks a knife's edge. Cleopatra's rule stabilizes Egypt. Grain flows again. Temples reopen. Trade resumes. But Rome whispers. Senators question Caesar's loyalty. They fear Cleopatra's influence. They fear her intelligence. They fear her ambition. And fear in Rome always leads to violence. 47. The decision to leave Egypt. Caesar must return to Rome. Civil war still rages. Enemies still wait. Cleopatra watches him prepare to leave. She understands something with brutal clarity. If Caesar falls, so does her protection. She must prepare for a future without him. 48. A warning disguised as affection. Before leaving, Caesar makes one thing clear. Rome comes first. Egypt will never be equal. Cleopatra smiles, but inside something hardens. She realizes Rome does not make allies. It makes dependents, and she refuses to be one forever. 49. The shadow of betrayal returns. After Caesar leaves, Cleopatra acts quietly, too quietly. Ptolemy XIV begins to disappear from public life. Soon his name vanishes from records. Soon after, he dies. No announcement. No investigation. Cleopatra rules alone. 50. The final lesson of her childhood. Cleopatra stands at the height of restored power, but she is no longer naive. She has learned power is never permanent. Rome always demands more. Love is a weapon. Survival requires ruthlessness. She has crossed a line, and she cannot go back. 51. The woman history will fear. Cleopatra looks out over Alexandria, the same city that once exiled her, the same palace that betrayed her. She is no longer afraid of it. She understands it now. She understands people. She understands empires. And she understands herself. 52. The end of the beginning. Cleopatra was born into blood. She was shaped by fear. She was exiled, hunted, and betrayed. And she returned, not softened, but sharpened. This was her childhood. This was her education. This was her origin. Cleopatra did not become powerful because she was loved. She became powerful because she survived. And now, she stands at the edge of a far greater storm. Because in Rome, Julius Caesar is running out of enemies. And the ones he has left are sharpening knives.